What is going on, guys? It is time for another episode of the Chasing Waypoints podcast. And we are back. Hey, but we're a day late. What happened? Okay, I'm sorry. Life got in the way and did not get a chance to sit down and record an episode. Mom's birthday and all. Hanging out with the family. Running errands. What is going on with this adult life? How do you guys get out and ride? I don't know, but I'm getting excited. We are quickly approaching the 1-year anniversary since I last rode my motorcycle. That is most definitely not an impressive statistic. But we'll turn the party down a little bit here. Solo show today, it'll just be you and I. Well, all of you and I. So it's been an interesting couple of weeks. Lots going on. I guess we could kind of announce it here in a minute. What is happening? I am returning to the motorcycle industry. But most importantly, I'm getting ready to ride a bike. I'm trying to remember. It was first gear down, right? Let the clutch out slowly. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to show up early and practice my clutch skills. So nobody can watch me fail. Anyway, let's turn the party down. All right, so we have got a lot going on. It has been SoCal Rally Prep for the last couple of days. Actually, the last couple of weeks almost. I feel like I've been working on the bike nonstop, which is interesting enough. You know, there's a lot of turning wrenches for not a lot of riding, but trying out some new things. At the heart of the setup, once again, is the Moto-Minded Stout mount that I am working with. But this time around, I'm going to the dark side. We're going to be trying out a tablet this time around. Again, if you guys know what we were talking about, you know, the Rally 101 side of things, we're on the equipment phase. I am working on that one for you guys. And that one is going to be just the gamut of all of these different devices that are out there that you could use to get into Rally. And remember, we're approaching that from the side of the entry level. You know, there's a lot of different things out there. You know, you can go from your basic phone setup all the way up to some of these things like a Tower One from Ico, or even like the William setup, the Rally Tab. You know, there's a few different setups that you can go with, and we're really starting to border into decision paralysis. Well, do I get this one? Do I do that? Or do I get that one and then not this one? You know, so there's a lot going on for this, and I think that it is important to, you know, really look at what your budget, what your riding is, and what you're planning on doing. You know, start off, you know, is it something that you could get a tablet and then you know that, well, like, okay, if I don't like it, then at least it's a decent-ish GPS, or do I need to maybe step it up? I want to get something a little bit more because whether or not I end up doing rally stuff with it, you know, so there's a lot that can be done as far as equipment goes. And the idea is to help choose like the right setup to either get started or that will have some longevity, and it won't be like the latest iPhone 63 that has all the same features as 61, but then they repackaged it and then they, you know, changed the tone of the commercial. And now everybody wants an iPhone 63. Like, we're trying to avoid that, and we want something that will provide some growth. My personal setup and what I'm going to be running, I'll be running a Tab Active this time around. I'm going to get eyes on and hopefully get a tester of the Adventure tablet from Willem Eminent at SoCal Rally. We'll do some stuff with that and just kind of check it out. I'll show it to you guys. I'll show you the setup that I'm running. You know, I'm going to be running a Rally Comp along with the Tab Active. So the Rally Comp is going to be my Cap and Odo reader. I'll have some waypoints programmed into it. For those of you that don't know, I'm heavily involved with Rally Comp and working the events with them, working with the organizations. And so I'm on the other side now, and I like navigating. I want to screw the waypoints up, you know, go wide, figure it out, like, you know, get a little bit more experience, you know, test some new features, that kind of thing. Just to make sure, you know, hey, this is it's like quality control, you know, And for me, it's important, for what these guys go through. We had a lot of that going on at the Coast to Coast rally that we just got back from. It's a very interesting rally in a lot of different aspects and in very positive aspects. We'll talk a little bit about that. Let's jump into it. So just got back from that week-long adventure from Veracruz all the way over to Puerto Escondido, Oaxaca. Very awesome rally. A lot of stuff to see. I mean, I was blown away by some of the views and some of the things that racers were going to get to see. We were a day ahead, going to the next bivouac, setting up, tracking, and then the racers would basically come to us. And that was kind of the routine for the 5 days. And we got to see some amazing stuff, some really, really cool stuff. Although a lot of it, we traveled at night or in the dark or dusk, it was okay. I mean, it was really, really crazy. I mean, I could probably do a whole episode just on how the adventures went down and what that was like down there. But long story, really, really short, is it was an absolute awesome event. Everybody was happy. Like any of the events that I've been to with Rally Comp, there are some struggles in there, but once guys get into it, it's like that first day, they're like, damn, it's like the Rally Comp can be oh man, do I really want to make the reference of the annoying kid? It's the annoying kid that beeps at you, and basically you have to take the Rally Comp out on a tour, and you got to go visit all of these places. And if you don't visit all of the places, it's upset at you. And if you're speeding, it will be upset at you. And so it's really interesting to see how riders adapt to that when they're not used to being, quote unquote, controlled by a typical rally device. It is a pro level device. In other words, you can't you can't miss a waypoint and then just move on to the next and not expect to do something. You have to manage the waypoints, and a lot of people weren't really used to that. We did see that. We saw antenna placement. We saw all of these things that, we're going to be working with, working with the team and kind of being a little bit more strict on those kind of things, because it is important for both the scoring side of it, the tracking side of it. And then at the end of the day, it's really the rider enjoyment. And so there's a lot of things that, they don't like, because people don't understand. They don't know why it's a requirement or why we are asking for certain things. But we're going to work on clarifying that. So I'm excited for it. It was a really, really good event in the end, and it was a lot of fun. Got a chance to see, again, some really awesome sites, some really different places, a lot of culture, like places where it's still the norm to dress, and the villages and everything is like a throwback to several hundred years ago, it feels like, and seeing all these artisanal things, crafts and stuff like that. I mean, we took, for those of you maybe are familiar in Hawaii, on the islands of Hawaii, there's the road to Hana, and that's where they filmed part of the Jurassic Park stuff. And it's like something stupid like 387 million turns in 10 miles. Well, we found the other road that's got its competition, coming down the hill, and it was like, it was bad. It was a lot of corners, it took a lot of just, being really, really smooth. Luckily, we did it at a time of day where there wasn't a lot of traffic. So it was just being really, really smooth, but literally corner after corner after corner. Like if the road was straight for 100 feet, that was the longest straight of the road. So it's absolutely crazy on that side of it, but it was a lot of fun. But again, really great event. I know at the end, it was really awesome. We had like our kind of farewell dinner, impromptu farewell dinner. We had the guys from Off Piste. We had Etienne, Matt from Rally Moto Shop was there. I'm trying to remember who else was at the table. Of course, my dad, Mike Johnson from Rally Comp. Everybody was there. We were just talking about the event, and then Patrick Reyes showed up, and we talked a lot about some of the things for next year, and it was cool to see how the table was in line with what Patrick was, even though Patrick wasn't part of the conversation. So Patrick and Romina are very in tune with the event and what the needs of the event are. So it was really awesome to see, like, no, we're already working on it. We already know, what the next step and what the future is. So we're absolutely excited to see, hopefully we get a lot more participation coming from the stateside. if you guys are listening and you kind of want to know more information, send your questions in, because I think I really do think that it deserves kind of a recap show from where my perspective and what I got to do. And maybe, we can talk to some of the racers and figure out, what are the important questions? Because I know that still there are people that are apprehensive about traveling into Mexico and doing all this stuff and all. And right now, I could just easily hit that one. We traveled at night in Mexico, which is something that, anywhere, anybody you talk to is like, no, you're not supposed to do that. 32 minutes before sunset, you don't want to be on the road, which in most cases is the case. But there was, I guess, I don't know, there's been some stuff going on down there, and it was kind of crazy, maybe a little annoying, but actually not really. I felt way safer. So there was some stuff that had gone down, and the government stepped in because it basically shut down the economy down there, where they weren't doing any kind of transport stuff at night because the semi trucks were getting held up and blah, blah, blah. Well, first of all, you've never been on a road with so many semi trucks. A lot of these roads that I visited, but that wasn't the main thing. The main thing was crazy was every other overpass or every couple of overpasses, for sure at every gas station, there was at least two police vehicles. And it was awesome. The roads down there are great. Even that road back, on the backside of the mountain to come down to get into Puerto Escondido was like was groomed. I mean, no potholes, no nothing. The only thing you're going to have to get used to, and they take it very seriously, they're very proud. I think that I don't know, not the national, can't be the national bird, the national landmark. I think for a lot of those places down there is the speed bump. Or the famous reductores. It is there are so many speed bumps down there, and I get it. They're trying to keep, people from speeding in some of these small towns and, getting in a hurry. But it was, again, it was awesome to see everything. It was a great experience. But, again, going back to the traveling at night, I was very surprised, because at first I was kind of apprehensive. I'm like, I get into focus mode where it's like, all right, we are literally closing the doors on the car, and they are not opening until we get to our next destination or gas station or whatever it is. Like, that's just not slowing down, not stopping. And it was really cool to see the amount of involvement of the local authorities and how that went down. And it was really awesome. So that's, for those of you, again, that are a little bit apprehensive, there's game plans coming on how to get the bikes across and everything that you need to do, because the logistics, there is some logistics to it. But again, Patrick and Ramina, they're already on it. This is something that are already working on for next year because of the way the event was. It was really awesome to see. And with that, a lot of new guys into rally, the adventure rally class down there, the rally maxi classes, is a thing. So there's a lot of guys down there running adventure bikes with road books and with GPS class, which is cool. They kind of mix that up. And then there was one particular kid that I got a chance to talk to that we worked with, and he had questions about the speed penalties and how they were working. A couple of them he felt they were unfair, but we were able to say, hey, this is where it happened, this is what happened, and he went from, both him and his dad, which was awesome to see. Both him and his dad went from penalties to no penalties, like literally from one day to the next. Like, they got it. They took pride in what they were doing. They wanted to get it right and made it happen. So much so that in his first rally, the son actually won the last stage, beating out everybody on that last part, which was very awesome to see on stage number 5 to pick up a win as a first-time rally rider. So that was some really good riding, some clean navigation. We won't say who in our circle or in the circle of rally in North America picked up a speeding penalty, which cost them that. But, it was part of it, and it was a lot of fun, and it was awesome to see, hey, new blood, new kid, really young, making it happen. So very awesome event. Again, looking forward to seeing next year and getting back down there for that one. It was really awesome to see. So, all right, let's do, okay, so we got that one. Let's jump back to bike prep for the SoCal Rally. That has been something at the forefront. So as you guys already know, I ride way less than I wrench on bikes, but I enjoy, when you first got that one car that you really, really wanted, or that one bike that you really, really wanted. And, you walk away and then you have to do the double take, because like, damn, yeah, I'm riding that. That's mine. Well, that's what I feel like with my bikes, and I enjoy that part of it. And God, I hope that doesn't sound bad, but it's just, it's a sense of pride in what you built and putting it all together. I mean, for us, in the rally realm and motorcycle realm, and that, we make these bikes our own. I mean, if that was not true, there wouldn't be such a big aftermarket industry for bike parts. And well, I have the world's worst case of shiny object syndrome. So we've been building the bike. Last year's SoCal Rally was my first time out with it, really getting some miles in. Well, that was second time, because the first one was the ride that we did with Gnarly Dave out in the high desert, where we got dumped on and all that fun stuff. I really, really enjoyed it. And so this time around, there was, things that I wanted to do, like get rid of the tubeless system. The tubeless system works well. It serves its purpose, but, I'm like, it still has an inner tube, and I'm not doing as much quote unquote dual sport riding as I thought I was going to be doing. So, okay, well, we're going to the mooses. So we were able to score some mooses. Some very good used takeoffs. Thank you to Gnarly Dave on that one, and get those in there. Put the mooses in, front tires. I decided to get rid of the 9100, so the fatty tires. I may go back to them at some point, but I wanted to go back to the middle of the road. Right? You have your 9100 fatty 21. You have a 9090 21, and then you have an 8100 21. And so for those playing the home game that aren't familiar with tire sizing, the first number is the width of the tire. The second number is the percentage of that width. And then the last number, 21, obviously would be the rim size. So the percentage is an interesting thing. A 90 millimeter wide tire with a 100% or 9100 is going to have a 100% of that 90 millimeter width as its sidewall. So now you have a 90 millimeter sidewall, right? And then you go to a 90 millimeter width, 90% sidewall. And then you go to a 80 millimeter, you go 80 millimeters wide, and then you go 100% or 80 millimeter sidewall. So the tire height actually changes, and which was kind of crazy, because I didn't realize it, that I had not calibrated my, and if you go to the tire, like a tire size compare, you can actually see how the rollout is very different from each tire. And so you have to set up, like if you have something like an RNS unit or you have an ICO unit and you are going to set it up and it's measured off the wheel, you need to make sure that you recalibrate it to the correct distance. If you're on GPS based, like a Max 2 or a Max G from ICO, if you're on an RNS GFX V2 Pro, or if you're on something like a Rally Comp, those are all satellite driven. And so it's measuring distance and altitude, it's doing some fancy math. And so that helps with that helps keep you on track. But if you're using a mechanical odo that's measured off the front wheel, you need to make sure that you're adjusting the sizes. So anyway, so the characteristic is that the fatty tire, while really good in a straight line and over the big bumps, I found that in the sand, it kept wanting to pick the bike up out of the groove. It was kind of more difficult, which means it's great. It had all sorts of traction, but it can lead to some interesting things. And in talking with some riders that have a lot more experience than me on that type of tire, it's like, yeah, they you have to be more aggressive. That tire doesn't like to carve in as easy, so you have to lay it over more. You have to do some things differently for it. At least that was their opinion. And for me, like, okay, well, I just want to try it. I want to try different things. And so along with that, I said, okay, well, we're going to a more traditional 90-90-21 front, 120-100 rear. So still a bigger tire in the rear as far as height goes, not running the big 140. And then the mooses, try that out, see how that works. And then the big thing, there's a couple of, I think the two biggest changes that I've made, is the tablet. But there's some other stuff that I had been trying to work on or figured out. Obviously, this was I had overheard it in a conversation. I'm like, maybe I should look into that. We're protein shake break. Hold on. So maybe I should take a look at that. And well, I did, and I found something. I found there's a company here in San Diego it's a company here in San Diego, Luxon, that does triple clamps and some associated parts and stuff like that. And so I was on their website cruising around, and then I found that they make a different set of triple clamps with different offset for the bikes and all the newer models, things like that. But that also fits some of the older chassis stuff with an adapter with a different upper spacer or whatever. So they got it dialed. But the big thing is the offset change. So offset, for those of you guys playing the home game, you have, if you look down and you're on your motorcycle and you look down and you see the nut that's on the front, right by the front handlebars, right on the center, it's basically what ties the front triple clamps to the chassis. That nut, the distance from its center line to the center line of the forks, that is your offset. So traditionally, a lot of bikes are in that like 21 and 22 millimeter range. So about 20, we'll just go with 22, right? Because that's what the Huskies are stock. So 22 millimeters from the center line of that to the center line of the forks. There is additional, like you can add offset to it, and it will change the handling characteristic of the bike, basically stretching it out a little bit more. It will, there's a lot of like rake and trail and fancy numbers, but at the end of the day, it ends up working out where that helps increase the straight line stability of the bike because it's trailing, the frame is trailing the front forks a little bit more. Now, again, people with a lot more experience have tested this kind of stuff and done this kind of stuff for a lot of the motocross bikes. A lot of the guys are going to that. It's just, they've tested it. They feel better on the bike. And, the company like Luxon has one set that's a fixed, which is what I got, the 23.5 millimeter. But then they have like their pro version, with the titanium bolts and all that stuff. But then it has the adjustable offset. So you can go 24, 23, 20, you can play with that offset to find your liking. And so my deal is that I am trying, this is going to sound crazy, but I'm trying to get the bike to feel just a little bit closer to the 790 Adventure. Now that's stupid because it's two different bikes, right? You think like, well, why would you want to do that? But there's a certain, I feel really comfortable on the 790. And while maybe I'm not going to carve corners a lot more aggressively, I just feel more comfortable. And so I'm looking at things, namely like the wheelbase, the distance from axle to axle on how long the bike is. Then I'm looking at the difference in axles, like for Dakar, like the KTM RFR, the distance from axle to axle. And I'm working on getting the 501 a little closer to that. So we did that. There's also another, there's a link. I changed the link in the back for the suspension that actually lengthened the link a little bit, which lowered the rear end a little bit. It's like 13 millimeters that it lowers the rear end. You can change the offsets on it. And with that is I'm getting the bike, it's squatting down a little bit. It's changing the chassis angle, but it's also lengthening the wheelbase a little bit. Lengthened the wheelbase a little bit, did that, and then I looked at the gearing. Last year at SoCal Rally, I was on 1448, which was a recommendation from Skylar Howes and a couple other racers of what it is. What I quickly found out is that I don't have the talent and the speed to maintain that 1448. So what I found myself doing was doing a lot of second and third, where second gear is a little too high in the revs, third gear was a little bit too luggy. So I ended up changing that. I ended up going to a 1451 is where it was at. It's weird. I would have gone 1450, but I ended up going 1451 because what I was trying to do is get the axle closer to the rear of the swing arm. So when I went with the same chain length that I was using for 1448, in a quote unquote normal setup, yeah, the axle was a little bit closer to the rear, wasn't all the way back, but it was there. When I went to the 50, it brought it way up. Like I almost bottomed out the adjusters and got the axle almost all the way to the front of the swing arm. I go, well, that just kind of defeats the purpose of what I was trying to do. So I'm like, okay, how are we going to do this? I added a link, but when I added a link, it got too long. And then I backed it all the way out and I still had too much chain slack. So then I was like, okay, well, time to turn it around. So I'm like, okay, well, 1451, I'm already at 1450. Going up one more tooth isn't going to hurt me. And until my riding improves where I can sustain what I think that I can sustain a 1448, it's like, I'm going to go with this. And so 1451 is the ratio I ended up with on the bike. I got about another 2 to 3 millimeters of back that I can go as far as adjustment goes. So if the chain wears a little bit more, it's already broken in, but if it does end up wearing a little bit more, I still got a little bit of room to breathe there. Worst case scenario, I drop a link and then, I put the other one back on and get it back into the range. Not a big deal. It's just tools and time. So that's kind of been the setup. That's what I've been working on. And the rest of it has just been cleanup work, like literally just looking at it, re-greasing the pivots, torquing everything down properly. I've been watching a ton of videos on YouTube about how to, adjust the chassis and, the proper tightening torques and all of these different things. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to get serious about that. And so got the torque wrench, working on that and everything. I'm just going through torquing everything. I went and picked up some of this stuff as I knock everything down. I picked up this Revlock stuff. And what's interesting is I was like, okay, I actually called my brother. So for those of you guys that don't know, my brother races UTVs and has been doing so for a long time. And I noticed that was one of the things that he was getting into more is, marking the bolts and making sure they're on point. So I called him up. He recommended a company called Revlock that does it's like a paint marker, but it's almost like a gel. And so it goes on clean. It's got a nice fine line, which, my OCD has been satisfied, achievement unlocked. But it also, it dries in a way that also, it takes a little bit of force to move it. So if there's no you're going to know that it's not correct. And so that's why I make a bunch of different colors. I picked up like 4 or 5 different colors and I went through the chassis and the things that I know that are critical to the way that the bike handles, I paint marked them. And the rear sprocket bolts, because man, if those things come loose. And I got a shout out to Jay over at Dirt Bike TV. I've been watching his channel and a lot of the stuff that he's been doing, but some of the things like when he puts a rear sprocket on, putting the thread lock not only on the threads, but he also puts a dab of thread lock on the conical part of the bolt. So for those of you that don't know, Loctite, if you spill Loctite, it will be forever liquid. It is in the absence of air, anaerobic, in the absence of air when it actually dries. So once you tighten it down and the air kind of gets its way out of there, that's when it dries and that's when it does what it needs to do. So that's why I imagine that putting it on the face of the bolt is kind of the same thing. You're just helping hold the bolt in a little bit better. Don't believe me. Try putting sleeve locker on something and that's a loose fit and all of a sudden it's going to be a really tight fit once it dries. So a lot of stuff, a lot of little detail work and things like that. But at the end of the day, I'm hunting down a particular feel on the bike. I want it to feel comfortable. I want it to feel like a sofa. I want it to still be nimble, but I still want it, I don't want it to be too rigid and just straight line. I still want that balance. And so that's what I'm after. And so I've opted for parts that I know that can be adjusted, like the rear link can be adjusted. So, I went to the extreme. I already know what it is at where it was, I went to the absolute extreme. Okay. What's the furthest I can get? And on the recommendation of, the videos that I watched on it, it's like, okay, well, for this type of terrain, this type of racing, this type of riding, riders like or prefer this more than the other. And so I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to try that, and just go with that. But the idea is like, what, try some things, make the bike mine. Figure out what are the things I like, what are the things I don't like. And it's interesting. I've spotted pictures. I've seen the bikes and I'm like, when the bike is on the stand, it looks a little different. There's certain things you notice, like it just, and they're not, obviously the factory teams aren't going to let on to every last little detail. They're testing things, they're doing things and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, yeah, well, whatever. I mean, what's the worst going to happen? Give it a try, work on some different stuff. If nothing else, the link that I got has protection for the rear shock. So I could always put it back to whatever the stock spec is, ride it that way, but at least I gained some protection. I don't know. So that's what I've been working on. I got the brake line stuff coming. I've got some stuff to shorten up the leads on the rally switches. I've got an adapter that I've got a prototype of that I'm going to be running that will control the tablet. It is analog. It doesn't require any power, and it adapts straight to the new switches. I got that. I've got the mount set up. I'm kind of proud of the mount, man. That's probably the most amount of time I've spent on one particular item in CAD in a very long time. And so it was cool. Designed it, printed up a few of them, and it looks like I think we've got a winner on the design. So we're going to be trying it out at SoCal, and we're going to go from there. But I'm excited. The clock is running out. We're almost down to the end of prep time for that. I got to get the trailer ready and start packing all the other stuff, go shopping, blah, 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 blah. So looking forward to that. Protein shake break.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
Hey guys, what's going on? This is Victor with the Chasing Waypoints podcast. Hey, super quick break in the episode. Let's talk about it. We have got the newsletter. If you have not signed up for that already, get on over to the link in the description. Head on over to the website and get signed up. So looking to bring you guys information on both Chasing Waypoints upcoming episodes, rally schools, rally events coming up, videos, all the stuff that we've got going on in the rally community here in North America and abroad. We're looking to share that with you guys. So if you haven't already, jump on over. Link is in the description. Head on over to the website, get signed up for the newsletter, and let's get back to the episode.
So that's what I'm happy I started putting coffee in this. So almost to that point. And so running out of time, it's an interesting one. So I at the top of the show, top of the episode, we talked a little bit, I kind of briefly mentioned it, that I'm headed back to the motorcycle industry. And so for those of you that didn't know, I guess I can announce it now or say it. Some of you guessed if you're longtime listeners, but my current / soon to be former employment at a certain electric vehicle manufacturer here in the United States that manufactures electric vehicles only, and with a very eccentric CEO, is my former employment, and I'm going to be leaving that and actually headed back. I guess I could say kind of headed back home. Going to be talking was talking to the team over at BMW Motorcycles here in San Diego, and things lined up. Made some stuff. They've got some room for somebody, and so I am headed back. Going to be going back into the motorcycle industry, which I'm absolutely excited to do. Working alongside with the team there. Doing some adventure bike stuff, doing some rides, doing some more stuff. The whole idea of it, going back to the industry, it's like the stress is just completely different. It's, a very, very different pace. It's a very different organization, which is awesome, and I missed it. And so I'm happy to be headed back to that one, and then working alongside those guys. And, maybe now we're really going to start doing some roadbook stuff on adventure bikes, which I would love to do. So we got a lot going on. And and speaking of which, now that the dust is settling a little bit, I did have a conversation a few weeks back with the guys from the Ram Rally, and going to be looking into that and kind of see what they're doing and how their setup works. A very interesting point system and how the events run. So we're going to definitely dig in a little bit more to that, find out a little bit more, and bring you guys some more details on that one. But it's my understanding the 50,000 foot view is like, hey, here's the points, pick your route and most points wins. So if I remember correctly, that's kind of how it goes. But you get to decide how to do that and how to manage that to get the most amount of points. So very interesting concept, and I'm looking forward to digging in a little bit to that and finding out more and bringing you guys some more information on that one. But like I said, I mean, it's been a few busy weeks. If you guys heard the episode last week with Matt Martelli, talking a little bit about that one, that was a really good conversation. I initially I wasn't sure where it was going to go when we started talking, but in the end, I feel like it kind of went into more of a, I don't want to say self-help, but it was honestly, it was motivating for me. To talk to him about, the beginnings and some of the different stuff in his journey into, and now, with the whole Mad Media thing, they just had the Mint 400 go off. Hats off to Ricky Brabeck and Preston Campbell picking up the W on the bike. And then the duo of, I don't know if I want to start the mullet and stash duo of Ricky Brabeck and Skylar Howes picking up the W in the UTV class. So very awesome to see. So Ricky collecting hardware this weekend at the Mint 400. Very awesome to see. And then Skylar Howes with a little bit of history. So for those of you that don't know, is Skylar's dad was involved with the Baja Boot and some really cool stuff back in the day with that. And actually, Skylar had shown some pictures of, if you follow him on Instagram, some of his stuff with the trophies from the Mint 400 from back then. And so very awesome to see. I'm sure, it was an awesome moment. I believe he had his sister co-driving with him. So that's awesome. It is absolutely awesome. And I'm happy to see that was the result that they put together, put half and half, Ricky on the first half, Skylar on the second half. And then Preston and Ricky on the bike. Not really sure how they split that up. If it was one lap, they were trading laps 1 and 1. But very awesome to see that. So really good outing for Honda, both on the motorcycle side of it and on the UTV side of it. Speaking of Honda, have you guys been following Mason Klein? This is where, this got interesting. Right, Mason was definitely on the working with the Cove team and making that happen, and then it looks like a deal lined up with Honda in South America, and he is now a team member with them. So interesting to see that change. Kind of not where we saw it coming, but I mean, duh. And the kid's got talent. I mean, he does. And he's growing into the sport, picking up his experience, doing his things, getting there. And I think that there's a lot more to come. There really is. And we were talking, I got a chance. I actually scored a part for my 501 from Larry, from Mason's dad. And we were talking, I had a really good conversation. It was awesome. But I think one of the biggest things that we talked about that was really, really cool, and I had talked about this previously, is that with the development, when Mason went to Cove and started working with Cove and, rode their bikes, and then for this Dakar was on their Gen 2 rally bike and stuff like that. One of the things that I thought that was very important, and I think that is going to, at least for me, right? If I was a team manager, one of the things that I would look at is it's a relationship, right, between the rider and the manufacturer. And you pick your racehorse, you pick your rider, and you want them to be kind of the whole thing, right? You want them to be PR, you want them to be you want results, right? And you want to help them get those results, but you want to help them help themselves. And what I mean by that, and what I thought was very important, a key aspect of this, was how Mason and Larry took that bike, Core Off-Road, took that Gen 2 bike and developed it and applied their knowledge to it and brought all of these things together to make that bike
that much better with almost no time on it, which was crazy. I mean, like literally like no time on it. And yeah, there was some issues, but if you noticed that the issues and the things that came about they're not something that they would have had control over. But all of these things that they did was to make the bike more reliable, to ride better, to do all this. So what they showed and what I'm getting at is that it's not just the athlete side of it and being able to ride the bike. It was that he was able to develop a bike as well, right? And find things that need to be done, things that will maybe don't need to be done, but it's, preventative maintenance, preventative failure management, or, whatever you want to call it. So there's going to be a lot of opinions. Obviously, there has been a lot of opinions about the brand and, well, it's this and that. He wouldn't have needed to do that. And I'm going, look, hey, nobody gets away free. Pick a manufacturer, and they've all struggled at Dakar. I just pick one. Maybe that's the challenge. Tell me a manufacturer that has not had mechanical issues at the Dakar Rally, and let's find out. And we'll get somebody on the phone from them, or I don't know. But it doesn't happen. The Dakar is the proving ground. And so, yeah, I would expect to see failures. Now, last year, previous year, 3 Coveys enter, 3 Coveys finish. Pretty good. So, that's, well, KTM does that. Yeah, KTM does that after 28 years. They've pretty much raced every single Dakar. So, yeah, but even they do. But, it's part of the game. You got to push the envelope. Obviously they've gone away from the ladder frame, KTM, to an MX frame, and they got to keep improving. Why? Because, well, a certain team whose primary color is red dethroned them, and so it's driving innovation. It's driving all of these things. What do we need to do? What do we need to do to win 2 weeks to sell for, the next year? So I think that's a very important thing that should be mentioned, and, the ability, obviously Mason's ability to navigate, Mason's ability to ride, and their ability to piece together a bike, and make it that much better, make it that more reliable, but more so is like, get it ready for Mason. I think that's the biggest thing. Suspension is one of the biggest things. I know that they worked with AHM, Mason testing one of the bikes and working to get the bike dialed into what he wanted. That is very important. As far as I can tell, it's all about feeling comfortable on the bike. If you don't feel comfortable on the bike, well, it's going to be a long day. And so that is why I am working so much on this. Yeah, it was funny. I was the other day in the garage, and so I get it, guys. I get it. We're going to close the show with this because I got to get, I am still employed at this place and I still got to go to work. But I was in the garage the other day and I'm like, yeah, I got to do this and that. And I told him, I told my dad, and I'm going, yeah, right after SoCal Rally, I'm going to tear this whole bike down and I'm going to do like a restore of it. Get the frame powder coated, new hardware, just really go into it. And my dad looks at me and goes, why? You should ride it more. Oh no, man. And then all of a sudden Gnarly Dave came in and joined the chat, and then to put it even worse. And that's how I know it's really getting bad. There was a message in our rally group, and it was very specific and less tinkering and more riding. So Dan Bart with that one, I was laughing. I got a good laugh out of that. But yes, you're right. So Winter Project is going to be a complete, which will be the first time I do this on a bike, but everything's coming off. Look at the wiring harness, and make sure, figure it out. I'm not 100% happy with the wiring harness and how everything gets to the battery. I don't like having 63 terminals, which, pro tip for you guys, if you guys are ever working on wiring and putting stuff down on the tabs for the battery, remember, at least is how I recall it, is the bike eats first. So if you're going to put a bunch of accessories on your 12-volt battery on the bike, make sure that the bike eats first, meaning the ones that were OEM, came from the factory sitting on the bike.
those are the very first things in contact with the battery. Don't put 63 ring terminals between the battery and it, because it's just going to lead to resistance. It's going to lead to a bad contact. And you want that, all the other stuff is usually low amperage. You want the starter, you want everything, every system on the bike to have the best shot at its power. So bike eats first, remember. And with that, I've got and I got to say, I ended up getting a capacitor from Takomoto Co. To get that on the terminals. So I said, okay, well, that is going to be important if I ever need to pop start the bike. So that eats second. And then all the accessories last after that, right? I want that capacitor right on top of those tabs, the main tabs for the bike itself. So that's what I ended up doing. That's the tip. But I'm not 100% happy with how things are there. I'm going to work on that part of it and try and get a better setup. So I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, I've been rambling on 45 minutes. This was supposed to be a 15-minute episode because I got to get going. But anyway, what else we got? No, I think that's it. All right. Remember, guys, it'll make sense when you get there. Enjoy the ride. All right, that is a wrap for the Chasing Waypoints podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Looking forward to our next one coming up. Remember, if you are out riding, do not forget to tag us at Chasing Waypoints. Hashtag Chasing Waypoints. And if you haven't already, get on over to the website. Get signed up for the newsletter, The Bivouac. North America's rally raid and adventure riding newsletter. Hey, let's have some fun. Let's find out what are you guys up to. Let's get you featured. If you're a brand and looking to get supported, get some eyeballs, get some ears on your business. Absolutely, hit us up. Send us a message at podcast at Chasing Waypoints. But anyway, that is a wrap. Remember, shiny side up. See you guys.